My wife committing suicide was the one that really fucked me up. But with my dad, when he committed suicide, it made me kind of focus on my sobriety a lot more. So I struggled with a lot of depression, which was drug-induced depression, for a very long time after he ended up committing suicide. In a year and a month into my sobriety, I attempted suicide. Drugs and alcohol do a really good job of numbing everything. People don't understand how scary depression is. And depression isn't scary because depression, makes you cry or whatever. Depression is scary because it isolates you.
Hi everyone, welcome to Venciendo la Depre, Overcoming Depression. I'm your host, Adolfo. Today we have a great guest, Eric Zink. He had an amazing story of resilience and fighting depression. He struggled with depression for several years, ADHD, anxiety, and other conditions, but now he improved a lot, and he's actually now a full-time blogger, talking about depression, anxiety, ADHD, suicide, a lot of great things. He has over 1 million followers on TikTok and over 100,000 followers on Instagram. He also received one of the nice plaques from YouTube. So I'm grateful to have him on my podcast. I just want to give a brief introduction of myself. My name is Adolfo. I was abducted by a drug cartel when I was 18 years old in Mexico. Then I was assaulted at gunpoint, and then I was forced to flee Mexico and move to Miami, and that obviously caused me depression, anxiety, PTSD. I suffered for several years until I realized it was depression, and then I was able to treat it, and thank God now I'm feeling way better. And now I'm able to create this podcast so we can help people struggling with the same condition. So, Eric, thank you for joining us today. Could you please give a little introduction of yourself, and then we start?
Yeah, absolutely. I do a lot just when like you said, it comes to social media. I share a lot on depression. I was diagnosed with ADD originally at 13. I was re-diagnosed with ADHD at 17. I've been diagnosed with major depressive disorder, general anxiety disorder, and PTSD. Lost a wife and a father to suicide. I've attempted suicide. I'm a recovering cocaine and alcoholic addict. And I enjoy sharing because I found the biggest struggle that I think we suffer with is that we feel that we're the only ones struggling, and no one can really relate to us. And I found that, just kind of sharing your testimony and sharing your story helps a lot more people than you could ever imagine.
Yeah, that's true. Just sharing helps a lot of people, but my main goal here is to give actual
Mm-hmm.
things that people can do to change.
Mm-hmm.
But before we move to that, can you go a little deeper into you mentioned your father committed suicide. When was that? When did that happen?
My wife committed suicide in 2015, and then my dad was a very well-known doctor, and he committed suicide in 2017, and then I attempted suicide in 2018.
How old were you when your father committed suicide?
I was 37 when my dad committed suicide.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So did that affected you?
Oh yeah, it fucked me up. Oh yeah,
Okay,
hardcore.
obviously it affected you, but before that, were you already having issues with depression?
Oh yeah.
Or
No,
when actually, let's go back. When did depression started for you? At what time, at what age?
probably at an extremely young age, but I didn't really know what it was. I think that was one of the biggest problems. I don't think we're really taught to understand what really depression is, what that feeling is. I think that when you're younger, you experience a lot of trauma. I think everybody experiences trauma in one way, shape, or form, but you don't know how to put it into words or to explain what the feeling is. I ended up getting diagnosed with major depressive disorder in my 20s, after I started trying to get sober because my emotions were all over the board, and I would just go into a really dark place and not sure how I would get there. And so I would go to
What caused that?
uh,
In an early age, what happened when did something happen to you where you were a kid? You come from a difficult, household. Like I want to get to try to find the
the
root.
The at an early age, I mean, my trauma was more abandonment trauma issues. My dad, like I mentioned, was a successful doctor. My parents, a lot of stuff in our family revolved around money and success. And so, the little things, forgetting your kid at the store was something that would happen. I forgot about a lot as a kid. Doesn't seem like anything too major because it was like, yeah, I have food on the table and a house over, a roof over
Yeah,
my head and all that.
everything looked normal. You had
But
like a good.
yeah, but there were these things that had instilled these little core beliefs in me at a young age that, um, people would leave me. And so that kind of became a belief system in my life. And so what that ended up doing was creating a lot of trauma in the way that I would start to self sabotage. I would start to make sure that people would leave me under a controlled environment to make me think I was in control, if that makes sense. Um,
Okay.
but when it comes down to ultimately then getting diagnosed, like with depression, it can happen for a lot of different reasons. They believe a lot of my depression revolves around serotonin, which is your mood stabilizer,
Mm-hmm.
neurotransmitter, which gets burnt out tremendously in addiction. So alcohol and all this stuff can burn out your neurotransmitters. So even when it comes to ADHD, just when you start mixing in different diagnoses and what it does to your brain, people with ADHD have a hard time, you know, stabilizing our mood. It's not bipolar. It's not anything like that. We just have trouble stabilizing our mood. We're either really high or really low, and trying to get that happy medium it's a pain. It's a lot of energy and a lot of work.
I'm glad you're talking about ADHD because I was diagnosed with ADHD, and I've been struggling with this, as you said, like mood changes and energy level.
Hmm.
I struggle a lot with my energy levels, still do,
Hmm.
when sometimes at 1 p.m. I feel completely burned out
Hmm.
and I usually have to take a nap. And actually, I had a girlfriend who one day told me, Adolfo, you have ADHD. And I knew I had ADHD. I was taking medications, but I was like, why do you say that? And she was like, because you sleep a lot. And I'm like, it made me feel so bad because it made me feel like I'm lazy. But
Hmm.
I hate to be lazy. I always try to be like super focus, energize, work out hard, and I'm trying to be like alpha male or a successful
Right.
individual. And for my girlfriend to tell me that I was sleeping a lot, it made me feel really bad. So I had to go back to the doctor and tell him that, and he increased the dose
Hmm.
of the Adderall. But it never occurred me that I was tired because of that. I thought it was just tired.
Hmm.
So, Eric, so your father commits suicide. What happened after your dad commits suicide? Because that's something obviously super hard.
After my dad committed suicide, I mean, that was actually the easier of the two. My wife committing suicide was the one that really fucked me up. But with my dad, when he committed suicide, I was already sober by like 3 weeks into my sobriety, and it made me kind of focus on my sobriety a lot more because I didn't want to relapse. I didn't know how to process the emotions or the feelings. I don't think a lot of people know how to process that or even what grief is, and especially as a guy, you kind of shy away from your emotions. You don't allow your emotions to take place. So instead of grieving it probably properly, I tucked a lot of it inside and allowed it to fester there and still affect my life until I got actually the right therapy, until I got what I needed to be able to process what had happened in my life.
Okay, so after your parent commits suicide, you look for help. You
I
went
didn't
with
I didn't look for help right
a
away.
psychiatrist, no?
After he committed suicide, I mean, I focused on my sobriety. I kind of tucked it all down inside and figured, okay, I'm just going to tough it through this. I've lost now two people I know to suicide. Focus a lot on my sobriety, but none on my healing. Um, I ended up actually starting a lot of my social media stuff about 8 months after he committed suicide, and started to find a little bit of pleasure and joy in that. Um, but my biggest struggle too was I didn't realize the effects of coming off of cocaine creates a dopamine tolerance. So little things in life don't make you happy anymore. It takes you a long time
Okay.
for your brain to repair itself. And so I struggled with a lot of depression, which was drug-induced depression, for a very long time after he ended up committing suicide. In a year and a month into my sobriety, I attempted suicide because I could not get happy. Um, Cocaine literally makes it to the point where it's such a powerful stimulant that little things in life don't make you happy anymore. You have too much of a tolerance built up, and it takes a long time for your brain to level itself back out.
Okay, I understand. When did your wife commit suicide?
She committed suicide in 2015.
And was she diagnosed with depression? Was she looking for help, or it was something random?
She wasn't looking for help. It wasn't random. I mean, we were both functioning, codependent, toxically codependent addicts. Her drugs of choice were alcohol and benzos. Mine was alcohol and cocaine. We ended up separating because our addiction was just too codependently toxic. Hoping that one of us would get sober at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And then about a year into our separation, she ended up committing suicide. And I found out through the sheriff's department, gave me a phone call, let me know that they found her body.
Oh my God.
Um, and so that was the one that I think messed me up a lot more than my dad's, just because I never experienced that one before in my life. Didn't know how to understand any of my emotions whatsoever. And so at that time, I wasn't sober either. And drugs and alcohol do a really good job of numbing everything. So it
Yeah, of
kind of drove
course.
me deeper into addiction.
Wow. Eric, and how can someone recover from losing a wife? And after your wife committed suicide, and I'm asking you this because I don't know this person personally, but I know that it's a friend of a friend who his wife committed suicide, and it's been 10 years, and this person, he haven't been able to have a new girlfriend. He's still
So,
blaming after 10 years.
and that is a huge thing of just unhealed grief. You literally have to look for, if I could go back in time and do it all again and heal myself a lot quicker, I would have looked for a trauma therapist that specializes in trauma. Because the biggest problem is we do not differentiate self-worth, self-love. And we hold the blame on ourselves and don't process through the emotions of losing somebody. And the worst part is there's so much guilt there that you literally need a coach to help you open up those emotions and your feelings, because you almost feel embarrassed or ashamed to be angry. You feel embarrassed or ashamed to have rage at this person. It took me a long time to realize that I could be pissed at my wife. I could be pissed at my dad for killing themselves. That, yeah, I can feel that it was selfish of them to do it. I can be upset. To allow myself to have those emotions and to feel those emotions is actually a lot of healing. Um, and that alone starts, I think, a lot of the process of letting go, because your hindsight's always 2020. You know, you look back and you're like, man, if I would have picked up on this sign, or if I picked up on this sign, or if I picked up on this, and that can put you into this prison. And a lot of it has to do with honesty and being open with somebody. And you're not that way with friends and family, because you feel that you have to be the bigger and stronger person, that, you're ashamed of your feelings, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Eric, you were able to remarry. I know you're married
Hmm.
now. I've seen your videos.
Hmm.
Mm, how long it took you to be able to remarry? Or
I actually got remarried a year after my wife committed suicide. It wasn't a good marriage. That was a bad one. I probably shouldn't have done that. I should have probably healed myself. We got married because she needed actually health insurance because she had melanoma.
oh,
And so that one ended in divorce. And then I did it right, and I actually took time by myself to understand myself, to start living for myself. And a year of being single, I ended up meeting my wife now, and it's been good now. It took a lot of therapy though to have a healthy relationship, a lot of work on both ends to have a healthy relationship, to have healthy communication and healthy validation.
yeah. Eric, what could you say to, for example, this person who lost his wife and it's been 10 years, and I'm sure he already tried therapy. I'm sure he tried a lot of things, and he's still in pain. What can
Mm.
you tell him? What would you tell him? Do this, and or change this, and you are going to see something, because after
Yeah.
10 years or 12 years, still not being able to have a relationship, a normal relationship, and still getting depressed for 2 3 months. And this is a functional adult. I mean, he
Hmm.
gets depressed. He doesn't go out for like 2 or 3 months, but he's still like a manager in New York for a large company. So
Hmm.
he works, but out of work, his life is, he's alone. He cannot have a new relationship.
And that's where you have to learn your own self love. I mean, that's where a lot of it is. There's a lot of different exercises, and I wish there was a magic pill that would fix it all, but there isn't. But I will say this, that you become a prison to this, and if you're not addressing what that exactly that pain is, why do you feel guilty? Why do you feel pain? You start to own that. You start to build the self love and start living for yourself because you have to let go of the past. The past is the past
Yeah,
for a
but it
reason.
sounds easy,
And
but
and no,
it's not easy,
it's
right?
it's hard as hell, and it's hard as hell to address it. And that's where I think for a lot of people it is finding your own way to address it. For me, journaling helped a lot. For me, sharing my dad's story and my wife's story helped a lot. Like these were things that actually helped me a lot with it. And talking to others even about suicide and realizing that we all feel the same way. It is all hindsight. Really coming to that understanding of my if they loved me, I know that, and the last thing that they would want to do is to have me sit here in pain and be in pain nonstop. So I have to start living life for myself and find my own self-worth. And I think that's the hardest thing to do is you're not living your life for yourself anymore. You're living it for somebody else who's no longer here, and that's impossible to do. So it puts you in a bad place nonstop. But that's where it's a lot of. I think it takes a lot of energy and a lot of trial and error to find out what works. Because no, therapy won't always work. But you know what? You might find a therapist that you do connect with. Sometimes it is a
And
little bit.
and I think most importantly is the desire to heal.
Yeah, you have to want to. Not everybody wants to. Some people are a victim to it and will always be.
Yeah, some people want to stay a victim forever.
Uh-huh.
Correct.
Yeah.
Um, Eric, what you mentioned, you were addicted to cocaine and alcohol from a very early age. What caused
Mhm.
you that?
Um, at 14 was when I started kind of drinking and stuff. I just wanted to fit in. That is a challenge of people who are, especially our ADHD. We are subjects to be able to be addicts very easily. Um, just because we have trouble fitting in, it makes us think that it's normal. It slows us down. Our brain's always searching for like dopamine hits. And so at 14, I started drinking. It wasn't, I thought it was cool. I thought I was fitting in. It was, I was young, dude. I was allowed to party. And that continued through high school. In high school, I ended up experimenting with Coke. I lived in Michigan, so it was probably cut with everything but Coke. Um, but it was fun. It was a party. And I'd always just kind of drank. And then in my earlier 20s is when it really became more of an issue that it didn't stop, and I just continually kept drinking, and drinking every day, uh, to the point that then all of a sudden I'm drinking too much, and cocaine became all of a sudden an amazing drug, um, that I thought was giving me everything I wanted. I was going through a divorce at the time, and I hadn't done coke since high school, and I did a line of coke in my car, and I was depressed. I was going through a lot, and man, that line of cocaine gave me everything I needed at that moment. It gave me joy. It gave me happiness. It took away all my self doubt. It took away all my fears. It gave me everything I thought I wanted, and that's when it kind of hooked me, and it became a permanent fixture in my life for a very long time. Unfortunately, to the point that I was using coke and alcohol to escape all the problems it was creating in my life.
For how many years were you addicted to cocaine and other drugs?
13 years.
13 years.
Oh yeah.
And okay, so when did you hit the bottom, and how did you recover from all
I
these traumas? The cocaine, alcohol, the suicide of your dad, the suicide of your ex-wife.
My
When
dad
was
actually hadn't
when,
committed.
when, when was the point where you said, I need to? How were you feeling first when you were at the bottom?
I felt horrible. My dad actually hadn't killed himself yet. I had a job. I was making 40, 50 grand a month, as a general manager at an RV dealership. I've always made really, really good money. And but I was just repeating the cycle. I was in an unhappy marriage. I was not grieving my wife's suicide. She had killed herself, and that's what really pushed me over the edge of. I got me to the point that I was doing 3.5 to 8 grams of coke a day. I was doing an ungodly amount of coke, and every now and then I would take a day off because literally just could not breathe out of my nostrils, and even then I would just be rubbing it on my gums and shit. Um, and I was drinking 2 3 fifths of vodka a day, a cheap vodka too, because I just wanted to get fucked up. I didn't care about taste, and my rock bottom, I lost my job. I knew I was going to lose my wife. I literally lost everything, and that was a normal occurrence. Every 4 years, roughly, I would just self sabotage, and my addiction would get the best of me, and I would just lose everything. And then in about 3 months, I would get everything back. But I was tired of that cycle, and I remember laying in bed just bawling my eyes out because I'm like, I've been there before so many times, and I was so tired of it. And I think every addict has these moments where we're high as fuck and we are just wasted. But we have these weird moments of clarity where we're like, we know we need to get sober. We know that our addiction is what's causing this. We know that if we got sober, we wouldn't be in this position. And every addict I've ever talked to, we all have these moments. And it's really weird. You're in the middle of a bender, and like 2 days into it, you have these moments of clarity, and you're sobbing, and you're like, I should get sober, but now all of a sudden you just snort another line. And then you're sobbing some more, just saying, I should flush this down the toilet because I need to get sober and my life would be so much better. And I had one of those moments in bed, and I was like, fuck this, dude. I'm gonna do it. And I woke up the next day, and I was too embarrassed to tell everybody I was a coke addict, but I wasn't embarrassed to tell everybody I was an alcoholic because that was pretty obvious.
Well,
If you're around me, I always smelled like alcohol. And so I woke up the next day and told everybody I'm an alcoholic, and I really have some problems and I need help. And that's where my whole little journey really started. Wasn't even focusing on depression or trauma or anything, just on alcoholism. And as I became more comfortable and more on my journey, I became more open and honest about everything.
did you
And
did you go to double A or something like that? One of
um,
these groups?
I went to AA because everyone told me I should go to AA.
Uh-huh. Did it help?
It helped because it put me around some sober people and it gave me some sober resources. But therapy helped a lot. Medication helped a lot. I realized that I wasn't
What
taking
type of therapy were you doing?
therapy. I was just, for the beginning, it was just general therapy. And then getting with my psychiatrist to go through my medications to find out, I'd gotten off my meds. So unmedicated ADHD is kind of dangerous, especially later on in life when you're trying to calm your brain down and you've gotten used to self-medicating. Because I'd stopped Adderall, I'd stopped every med I was taking, and I was literally medicating myself through alcohol and cocaine. And then getting with my just a general therapist of going, hey, this is what I'm struggling with. I kind of need help. But even then, I was lying to my therapist. But I needed tools to help me keep sober. Um, AA helped, and then I ended up finding some outpatient rehabs that helped, and there's a lot of different groups that helped. So for me, it was kind of a combination of a lot of different things that helped me kind of get sober. But what made my sobriety stick wasn't even AA or any of that. It was my dad killing himself. Because when my dad committed suicide, I was 3 weeks sober. And I've been trying to get sober at that point since I was 23. I'd go to AA for like 3 months and then say, fuck this. And I'd relapse for 2 years. Um, and so when my dad killed himself, I'd already talked to him about getting sober, and I knew he didn't really believe me that I'd get sober. And so it was kind of out of spite and out of anger that I stayed sober.
So basically, you knew everything. I mean, you started going to AA when you were 23. You struggled with addiction of alcohol addiction, drugs addiction for many years. I'm assuming that at that time you probably already went to a psychologist, a
Mm-hmm.
psychiatrist. You were already on taking medication for ADHD, but it was not until you hit the bottom and you try to commit suicide, and then your dad commits suicide and your wife commits suicide, when it was like everything together and you said, I'm tired of this, I really want to change my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no,
And
it
that's
was.
what created the change, right?
Mm-hmm. No, and we create the change. I think the change takes time because, like, after my dad committed suicide, it wasn't. It was a I was sober 3 weeks when my dad committed suicide. And then in 2018, in August, I attempted suicide. And it was a year and a month after I'd been sober. Because I couldn't get happy. I didn't know why I couldn't get happy. And I tried a bunch of different antidepressants, and I found out antidepressants don't really work very well with me. I get very suicidal thoughts and urges with them. But I didn't realize a lot of my depression was because I'd had so much drug use that it was taking a very long time for my brain to go
Yeah.
back to normal. And that it wasn't actually uncommon for coke addicts to struggle with depression. I didn't realize that until later on. Um, that just put me in a really dark place that nothing in life was bringing me happiness. I was in a marriage that, I shouldn't have been in. Not her fault or my fault. We were not meant to be together. That causes depression. I was living in
Of
California.
course.
I hated California. That's causing depression. There's a lot of different situational things that can also cause depression too, and a lot of changes in life, I think, that make life a lot easier for us if we have the courage to make the changes.
So then I'm assuming you start making changes.
I did. It took me a little while, but I did.
Okay. And how are you now? How are you doing now?
Good. Last 2 years of my life have been pretty amazing, actually.
What would you say have been the keys to where you at right now?
Trauma therapy. Trauma therapy. Being honest with my therapist. Being extremely honest with my therapist, because I think we all lie to our therapist. We all sugarcoat stuff. We all walk on eggshells with our therapists. We don't use therapy the way that we should use therapy. And being honest with my therapist allowed me to find coping tools, allowed me to understand my thought process, allowed me to halt my thought process. In some cases, that was really my missing key was addressing the loss and everything that I'd experienced in life.
Okay, something else that you have done, like if you could list 3 or 4 things for people to do to help them to really help them get out of depression, get out of all this horrible life of depression and addictions and crazy stuff. What would you say? What would you recommend?
I guess it depends on the person. I mean, goals and stuff help a tremendous amount. Medication helps a tremendous amount. Not being afraid of medication helps a tremendous amount. Um, for you, it's finding your own way, because that's the hardest thing. Is like we're all different. For me, having a gratitude journal helps me out a lot. Um, Being able to write down weekly what I'm grateful for helps keep my brain straight. Stuff as simple as taking a walk and going to the gym helps keep my brain straight. ADHD people, we don't like a routine, but we need a routine. So I have a basic routine that I follow every day, which helps me keep my brain straight. Um, I mean, it's literally not giving up and finding what works for you, because we're all so different. And I think that's where we fail at so much, is we compare ourselves with others, trying to seek this one answer that's not there, because it's not the same for everyone. Because we're all different. All of our experience have created us into a different individual. And so it's finding the strength to go, okay, let me find what works for me.
Okay. Yeah, and again, I guess it goes back to the base that is wanting to change.
You have to
When
want to
you
change. Some people don't.
Yeah, some people don't want to change, and that's why I know a lot of people who are psychologists and psychiatrists for years, and they every year they get worse. Every
Hmm.
year they need more medication. Every year they need more stuff, because at the end of the day, I believe that the change. You have to create a change. You need to want to change
Hmm.
that so that you can change.
Yeah, no,
Otherwise,
there's
you're just
too many
wasting time.
people. Yeah, too many people live with a victim mentality. Too many people know that they're in an unhealthy relationship and an unhealthy marriage, but they're afraid to be alone. Why?
Yeah,
I'd rather be alone and happy than fucking unhappy, wanting to die, waking up next to somebody staring, why am I living this life? You know what I mean? But yet people
I
don't make
agree.
that change.
Yeah,
People
yeah,
are
yeah.
people are in jobs like that. I mean, you have to you have to want to take the risk, and not everybody will. And a lot of people, unfortunately, I think, die very unhappy because they don't take that risk. They don't make that change.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, the rate of suicide now is it's crazy, and
Hmm.
the rate of depression, and it's crazy. That's why we're doing this post to help people,
Oh
to
yeah.
give tools that people can do. And one of the first things is you need to want to change. You have to be tired of being the victim. You need to look for help, and then you need to like really start doing the things that your doctor tells you. I guess if they tell you go for a run, go for a run. Don't watch TV that affects you. Don't watch stupid shows that are about drama and fighting and drinking. Don't watch that.
Right.
Watch positive.
And I think a lot of people are too involved into social media. I mean, I do a lot with social media, but I don't look through social media. I don't scroll
Social
social
media
media.
too.
I don't,
It's a,
I'll scroll reels and stuff like that or TikTok when I'm looking for like, you know, things to make for dinner or for actual like information, but like to sit there and just blatantly just scroll, I don't do it because that shit fucks my head up, man. Because then all of a sudden
yeah.
everybody's life is better than yours. Everyone's happier than you. I mean, it's amazing how much it screws with your head.
Yes, it's true. It's
Hmm.
true. It happened to me. Actually, now I just look through social media to see my posts,
Hmm.
what I'm posting about the
Yeah.
depression and other things. So, Eric, what could you say? What type of advice would you give to these young kids that they are 17, 18, young adults that are drinking and partying and they think it's a joke? It's just I know it's fun to when you are young. It's fun to one time get a drink and party with your friends, but there's a moment when you say, "I need to stop. This is not healthy anymore."
Hmm.
What can you tell to the young people?
I would say you got to find somebody to start being honest with them if it gets to that point, because that is the biggest problem is knowing when addiction kind of even takes over, and you can never tell an addict that they're an addict. But I will say this: that you know you have a problem when your life starts to revolve around a substance, that you're lying around a substance, that your life is lived around a substance. Of when can you start drinking? You know, you're drinking before work, you're drinking during work, you're drinking after work, and you're lying to people about it. And at that point, it really comes into you if you really want to make that change, that you have to start being honest with yourself and with other people around you. And it's not easy to do. And the funny thing is, we think that nobody knows we're an addict. We think that we do a really good job of hiding it, but everyone knows that we have an issue. Everyone knows that we smell like alcohol. Everyone knows that we're using.
And the best would be to don't become an addict.
Yeah,
Like, hey, go party one day, once a month. It's kind of okay. Once every 2 3 months, it's kind of okay. But focus in school, focus in developing your life, in achieving your full potential. There are so many beautiful things in this country.
yeah, there
There
is.
are opportunities that young people are just wasting their time drinking and bushering around when they could be studying and working and I don't know, doing whatever they want, traveling the world. There are so many beautiful things to do.
There really is, and I think that's where it's a lot of it's the parents' responsibility to urge your kid to go out there and live life. You know, I think parents forget that you kind of set the example for your kids, and what kind of life you're living is the type of life your kids are going to end up living. And if you're not living the life that you want to live, start urging your kids to live the life that that they deserve to live. If that makes sense, you know, there's a lot of kids out there that really, you know, you go into our schools and stuff like this, and they're not taught, you know, how to actually go out and live life to achieve goals, to make goals happen, to make dreams happen. You know,
Yeah.
they're not taught this, and so you're taught this temporary fixes, which is drinking or smoking or whatever it might be,
Yeah.
and those temporary highs is life.
Yes, definitely the parents have a big responsibility. They need to make teach the kids from a young age to stay focused on good stuff, on positive things,
Mm,
sports, education, or arts and crafts, story, history. I don't know, whatever the kids like.
yeah,
But if you let them, get into parties and parties and parties and parties, then they end up having terrible problems. Eric, any specific book that you like that you would recommend to people?
book is probably the best one that I've read is David Goggins. You can't hurt me. Is probably the best book I've read out there. I'm not a huge fan in a lot of like self help books and stuff like that, because a lot of self
Okay.
help books, especially if you read self help books at night, will fuck with your head. And next thing you know, you're reading this book and you're laying in bed and you're like, shit, I should have did this. And I'm not trying hard enough. And you feel like a failure literally when you're done reading a lot of self-help books. And you're like, how, this person's not sleeping at all and they're making all their fucking dreams come true. And I'm a failure because I need to sleep because I'm tired. Um, David Goggins' book though really was inspiring to me just because he does share a little bit of, what he used to become very successful in what he had chosen to become successful in, and to build the mindset mentality. But I think a big one is it really instills the fact of not being a victim to life. I think
Yeah,
that's one of the biggest problems that a lot of us deal with is that we play the victim of life, and that we didn't do anything wrong and life just did this to us. Well, no, we played a role in it.
yeah.
It's not, life just didn't wake up and beat us up. We have some role to play in it, and we can change it too.
I agree. We are responsible for our own lives. No one else. Not not
Mm,
our parents, not our wives or girlfriends. It's us.
yeah,
We
no,
are
and
the,
that
we are the captain of our lives.
yeah, and that's where I think too many people base their happiness off of a relationship. That doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I'm in the happiest relationship I've ever been in, the healthiest relationship I've ever been in, because my wife and I look at each other and we're like, if you weren't here right now, if we weren't together right now, we had to end it. Yeah, I'd be sad, but you know what? My life isn't going to stop. We're not that dependent where, oh my God, if my partner leaves me, my world's over. Oh, woe is me. You know what I mean? It's like our partner's supposed to lift us up and be a part of our life. It's
Yeah,
not supposed to be our partner's not supposed to be our happiness. We're supposed to be our happiness, and our partner adds to that happiness and adds to that
correct.
strength. And I think a lot of us really get that screwed up and thinking that this, being in a relationship is what happiness is. And I see people that are in relationships and I'm like, dude, like, I feel sorry for you. You're in like a 10-year prison right there, bro.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely. A lot of people make mistakes.
Hmm.
They get the wrong wife. They get the wrong girlfriends. They choose the wrong friends, and unfortunately, the bad decisions um, create bad results.
They do. And we don't own our bad decisions. And then all of a sudden it's not like, oh, it was my fault. It's like, oh, this person did this to me. No, it's our fault too, because we put ourselves in that
Oh,
position. And that
yes.
was my biggest problem. And that was the biggest healing that I ever did, because my biggest problem that I could never let go of for the longest time is I always played the victim to everything. Nothing was ever my fault. It was always poor me. I always played the victim. And the
Yes.
biggest healing I ever did and the biggest growth I ever did was learning not to play the victim anymore and to go, okay, this happened. What did I play? What did I do to create this? And it might only be 10%. That something might have happened in my life, but you know what? 10% of what happened and this bad thing that happened is my fault. How can I change this next time? And knowing that I can change an outcome or change the result of something next time when this happens by acting differently or saying something differently or walking away empowers me to know that I have the ability to keep my life however I want it to be, instead of, oh, poor is me. It's my life just hates me. Fucking it's hard out
Yeah.
there. And no, man, you don't like your job, go change your job. Why we get too bent and hell bent on fear? And I think if you, again, it comes back to even a relationship, if you have a healthy partner and a healthy relationship and you go, you know what, I hate my fucking job, let's try this together. And your partner's going, hoorah. All right. I hate my job too. So let's do this. You quit first. You find this. I'll quit and you come up with these plans for life together. It makes life fun. It makes life an adventure and you're
Yeah.
happy all of a sudden.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I agree. I agree. I don't have a wife. I'm single. I'm alone, and that caused me depression. Being alone caused depression. But definitely before I marry someone, I know exactly what I want. I know that I want someone who loves life, someone who is definitely not depressed or struggling with depression, someone with a good character, with happiness, a happy person, someone
Hmm.
who understands that, who loves life. I mean, at the end of the day, life is so pretty. I live in Miami, and here you have your house.
Uh-huh.
Uh, it's beautiful, man. Sometimes I go out and I see the water and the sun, and life is so pretty. And sometimes we just waste it being sad inside a bedroom.
No, you
Sometimes we
really do.
go out.
And that's the hardest thing. I think a lot of people have never learned, and it took me a long time to learn to be happy on your own,
It
you
took me a
know,
long time to learn to be happy by myself too.
yeah.
I
And
struggle with that.
Yeah, I mean, I struggle with it a lot, and when I moved up to Idaho, I made myself a thing of I made a bucket list, and every week I had to do 3 adventures, and it didn't matter what it was, whether it was a hike somewhere or if it was going somewhere. I wanted to live life, and so to do that, I made a bucket list of things I wanted to try because I'd never lived in Idaho or Boise before. I knew there was a lot of stuff to do here. And so I just started making a list, and then I started going and doing 3 things off of this list every week. And now all of a sudden I'm becoming who I wanted to be. And when you become who you want to be, you attract people that are like you.
Yeah.
And next thing like that's how I found my wife. I wasn't looking for a relationship. I was looking for a friend, and I wanted to explore this area. And then I found somebody who liked doing, the same things that I did and had the same outlook in life that I did. Um, and it made a huge difference, and we still do that. We still go on tons of road trips and tons of adventures.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I did was to join a like high-end gym, like more like a club.
Mm-hmm.
But it helped me because I start making friends, I start talking to people, I start working out every day, and I'm going to a place that I could relate to people and make friends because I joined the other gyms
Uh-huh.
and I was never able to connect. I don't know, people, things are fast here, everybody
Uh-huh.
trains, if but this high-end club, it's different type, it's a different vibe, different type of people that connected with me.
Right.
So it helped me to have a place to make friends, to talk, to relax, to work out, to get strong. And that, every day I start my morning working out.
Mm-hmm.
6:30, quarter before 7, I'm
Mm-hmm.
working out hard. I don't go, to like walk 10 minutes. I work out, I lift weights, not super heavy, but lifting
Mm-hmm.
weights, working out, push-ups, run, something
Mm-hmm.
to start moving the body. And then, you meet people, you talk, you say hi, you say jokes, and then as you said, all new people come to you.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons why I was so sad is because I was a loner. I was in
Mm-hmm.
my house feeling sad and depressed every day, thinking that I was the only one suffering, when the only thing that I needed to do was just to get out of the house.
That's
Uh,
that's why that's why AA and NA that's why NA and AA work for addicts, because what you said is something that nobody ever admits to is at a certain point in life. I'm 43 right now. Where the fuck do I make friends? Where do I don't go to recess anymore. I don't go, new kids don't keep coming into school or whatever, or I'm not in a college, and hey, it's a new semester, so new class and new possible friends. At a certain point in adulthood, to make friends is the hardest thing in the world, and then all of a
yeah.
sudden we're lonely. And that's a scary place to be, man. Lonely, not
Well,
knowing how to make friends.
we think it's the hardest thing to do, but in reality, it's not. We
It's
just need to
not.
go outside and
Yeah.
smile and be happy, and people come.
Yeah.
People come. People, but we have this. I remember I joined this gym. I was very sad, depressed. I joined the gym because I was feeling super sad and lonely. I was
Mm-hmm.
tired. So I said, I wanna join a gym. I wanna do yoga. Actually, the excuse was yoga.
Okay.
And like a private yoga club, like a private yoga studio is like $50 per class. And this gym is like 200, but it's like a full gym with yoga, with Pilates, with a lot
Uh-huh.
of things, and it's like high end. And I also have a business and I work. So I said, okay, I want to connect with people. I also want to work out and I want to do yoga because yoga, people recommend me yoga. So I joined this place, and that's when, and 2 weeks after I joined this place, I was so happy, and so my life changed so fast in 2 weeks. Waking up at 5:30 in the morning, that in 2 weeks I met a girl. I met
Mm-hmm.
the person who was my girlfriend for almost 2 years. We
Mm-hmm.
are not anymore, but I met her after 2 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
and I know it's because my attitude changed.
It
I
does.
was I was smiling. I was walking like like I'm powerful. I'm not sad anymore, and I was
Mm-hmm.
feeling so happy because when you are depressed for 10 years, and suddenly you start feeling happy, like I wanna conquer the world.
Right.
Now that I feel good, I want to conquer the world. I feel I can do everything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's amazing to recover, but we know there's a lot of people suffering, and we don't want people to think that now we believe that we are the big deal. We
Mm-hmm.
still have I still have my bad days. I still feel sad sometimes, but I fight every day. I think this is about fighting. This is a
Mm-hmm.
fight. Life is a fight. Life is not a game. You have to fight to be happy.
Yeah, and it's okay to admit that you have a bad day. Nobody has nobody has 100% good days. And if you have a bad day, just admit that it's a bad day. I mean, I do. I have some days where I look at my wife and I'm just like, man, today is just not a good day.
It's not a good
And
day.
you know
No,
what? I'm not going to
you're
try any. I'm not
rebellion.
even.
Don't talk to me.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not even going to try and fight it. I'm not going to. I'm not going to put this whole focus on what's going to fix my day all of a sudden. No, let me just go
Let
at
me
it. And you know what? As I go through the day, I'll probably find my happiness, not dwell on the sadness. And you have to you have to want it, man. And that's the hard part and again, this is why like I do a lot of the stuff that I do and I used to do a lot of stuff for free. If you want to know the truth, like what made me really big on social media, you want to know what made me really big on social media? Huge. I had a TikTok following with like almost 2 million followers. That account I blew up and I grenaded on purpose. And I grenaded it on purpose and I grenaded all the accounts around it on purpose because I gave out my phone number every day because I wanted to help people. And I found that when you want to help people, people have to want to help themselves.
Yeah.
And that was the key that I'd always missed is I found I will surround myself and my person with people who want to help themselves, not who want the quick answer, who want the easy way out, because there is no easy way out. And when you surround yourself with people who just want an easy way out, they want a quick fix and they don't want to put in the work, it destroys your attitude. It destroys your mental health. It destroys everything. And you become like that who you surround yourself with. But if you surround yourself with people who go, yeah, I have some bad days and I have some shit that happens, but you know what? Ultimately, I want to have a beautiful day. You know what? We're going to have more beautiful days together now because I'm surrounding myself that people lift each other up because they put in the work and they don't just expect it to happen, if that makes sense.
Of course, and definitely, I hate free.
Yeah.
Free is for
It
if
was,
people want things free, they don't value what it's free. You don't value when something is free.
yeah, you don't value it at all. And that's why I think a lot of people don't value life because it's free. They don't
Yeah,
value what they
no.
have. They don't
Yeah,
value this
yeah. We
ability
get
that they,
used to life. We get
yeah,
used to the sun when it's a privilege to have a son. It's a
yeah,
privilege that we are up today, that we are talking, that we are breathing.
yeah, no,
But
it
we don't.
is. And
Okay, Eric. One last thing. What could you say to people who wanna commit suicide, man? Someone who's watching this and he's like thinking about ending it. What can you tell him, man? You struggle with that.
if you really don't want to commit suicide and you really, really want help, the one thing that I would tell somebody to do is you go outside and you don't talk to a family member, you don't talk to a friend. You go outside and you find 20 strangers, people that you do not know at all, grocery store, bus stop, wherever the fuck they are, mall. You go up to 20 people and say, hey, I need your help. I want to commit suicide. I want to die and I need help. 20 people that do not know you. And I guarantee you, out of those 20 people, 15 of those people will sit with you in the fucking dark until the light comes. 15 of those people will actually become your new best friend and want to help you because you are honest with them, you are open with them, and you didn't sugarcoat it. We get this belief that friends and family should help us, and friends and family will never help us when we're that dark of a moment because we will never be honest with friends and family because we don't want to hurt them. We already feel that we're a burden. We already feel that we're the problem. We already feel that they can't help us with our problems. Our depression has already isolated us away from friends and family. And so to ask friends and family for help, we're never truly going to. But a stranger who we don't know, who they don't know us, and we seriously unload and just look at them and say, I need fucking help. This person doesn't know us, and they will actually help us. That's the beauty of what true help is and true support is. But some people don't really want that help either because it's scary to do. But that is
Yeah.
my suggestion. Like, if you really truly want to fight through this, go tell strangers that you're struggling. And these strangers will all of a sudden be your new best friend, man. They'll be giving you their phone number. They'll be taking you to the fucking hospital. These people will take it fucking serious
Yeah.
because they don't know you. And I want you.
Call the hospital
Yeah,
or call the hospital. Call
yeah,
the the suicide line or 911. Do something.
Yeah, human
Don't-
nature kicks in. Human kindness kicks in,
Yes, and
and
there's a lot of kindness. There's a lot of good people.
mhm,
Most people are good. I think we are losing that, thinking that people are bad. For a long time, I was like, I had something against people because I had bad experiences with on a business,
mhm,
and I felt everybody was bad. But
mhm.
that's not true. I mean, people are good. Humanity is good. We have to believe in humanity, and life is beautiful. And yeah, please don't commit suicide. We
Yeah,
beg
no,
you.
I mean that's the reality of it. People don't understand how scary depression is, and depression isn't scary because depression, makes you cry or whatever. Depression is scary because it isolates you. Your thoughts and conversations in your head are the scariest things in the world because it's not that you're having these bad thoughts. It's literally just isolating you day by day, where people are asking how you are, and you're telling them, "Well, I'm okay," and they're like, "Okay, cool," and then they walk off, and you're like, "See, they don't fucking care." They should have known that my okay meant that I was struggling, but they didn't see that it meant that I was struggling, so they don't really care. These are the conversations we have. And that's where
Yeah,
depression truly sets us up and isolates us, and we don't realize that. And that's why, talking to, I think, to a stranger is what's key.
I think so. I mean, a stranger or a professional or someone, but
Mm-hmm.
look for help. Don't stay there and do something crazy.
Yep.
Okay, Eric. Thank you so much. Thank you so
Definitely,
much.
man.
Thank you so much for joining me. And well, thank you for everyone for watching this episode. I hope you like it and that it helps you. And please share it with other people, with friends, family, whoever might need this. Sometimes sometimes it looks simple, but maybe for someone who is suffering, something might click and can create a huge change.
Mm-hmm.
So please do it. Eric, something else to end?
No, I mean, the biggest thing I think is you got to just find the want to change. It's in there. I think we all want a beautiful life. It's just stepping outside your comfort zone.
Yeah, 100%. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Eric. We
Definitely.
love you. We send you hugs. And thank you so much for joining us today. Bye bye.
Definitely, man. Later.